the government's done.
This as the province reports nearly 6,100 new COVID-19 cases in the last 48 hours. Ontario hospitals say more needs to be done than just a province-wide shutdown, pleading with residents to follow health measures.
If people aren't worried, if they're not paying attention.
Food insecurity issues have been laid bare by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Daily Bread comes through, and so do people supporting Daily Bread and all the other food banks.
And the Daily Bread Food Bank drive-through has been encouraging the city to give what they can. An update on the vaccine rollout. Pharmacies across York Region are expecting thousands of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 shots.
The Blue Jays and Yankees on the go from the Bronx will give you the latest. And Bianca falls in the final in Miami. Sports at 45.
And coming up in business, more Americans found work last month. We're looking over the latest labor market stats for March. And with vaccine distribution speeding up, companies are looking at how to get bees back to the office. 680 News Time, 4:31.
Time for traffic and weather together on the one. Here's Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by LL Bean. We have problems northbound on the Don Valley Parkway, just approaching Span Bridge. The right lane is blocked with a stalled vehicle. It looks like we have towers on scene already. So northbound Don Valley Parkway is slow from Don Mills to approaching Span Bridge. And then a bit busy north of Don Valley Parkway from Lawrence to York Mills. If you're traveling on the southbound side, no troubles on the southbound 404 Don Valley. Northbound Jane ramp to northbound 400, that's closed for long-term construction. The 401 across the GTA appears to be in quite good shape. I'm not spotting any problems. Eastbound QEW is heavy from Royal Windsor to Ford Drive. And hearing about a disabled vehicle now southbound on the 410 at Dairy, blocking the right lane. Enjoy the outdoors with LLB, legendary clothing and top-quality outdoor gear for the whole family. Visit them at CF Shops at Don Mills, Oakville Place, and George and Mulberry. Your next report is at 4:41. Now with the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
Well, Christine, some parts of the GTA right now are just seeing some light showers, and we'll continue to see those light showers move across the GTA over the next couple of hours. By midnight, though, we're expecting to see some clearing skies and temperatures dipping just above the freezing mark. 9 degrees right now at Pearson, our overnight low, 1 degree.
680 News Time, 4:32.
It's a number not seen since the peak of the second wave, and there's little sign we're close to a third plateau. Ontario reporting 2 straight days of over 3,000 new COVID-19 cases.
It comes as a 4-week province-wide shutdown takes effect today. 680's Madison Fitzpatrick joins us live with the latest data and reaction. Madison.
Yeah, Alex, with the holiday-long weekend, no numbers were reported yesterday, but we're learning today that there were 3,089 new cases on Good Friday and 3,009 cases reported today. A total of 39 deaths related to the virus were also reported. Now, effective today, Ontario has imposed a province-wide emergency break for at least 4 weeks. But officials like MPP Andrea Horvath are concerned that the shutdown is too little, too late.
Doug Ford basically walked us into this current shutdown with his eyes wide open. I mean, experts warned him, and he just ignored the warnings and marched us right into a really deep danger, which is where we are now. And I really don't think we have to be at this point. I was shocked to hear the numbers. The shutdown was just too little and too late, and it's the same failed approach that Doug Ford has taken from day one when it comes to trying to attack this virus.
A spokesperson for Health Minister Christine Elliott says, as we continue to vaccinate more Ontarians, the end is in sight. But right now, these necessary measures will help to stop the spread of the variants in our communities, protect capacity in our healthcare system, and save lives. Reporting live, I'm Madison Fitzpatrick.
680 News Time, 4:34. The Ontario Hospital Association says it welcomes the province-wide shutdown, but more needs to be done. It says in a matter of weeks, it's going to have no ICU space left. 447 people are currently hospitalized with COVID-19. President Anthony Dale says the province needs to move away from mass vaccination sites and mobilize vaccines instead.
Offer the vaccine to them person to person, have people who can communicate in all the languages that we know are in the Greater Toronto area, be in a position to answer their questions, deal with people who may be afraid of the vaccine because they shouldn't be. It's a miracle of modern science, and it will ultimately be the way that we leave this pandemic.
Dale is pleading with every Ontario resident to follow health measures.
Join this war effort and help Ontario's hospitals navigate the next several weeks, which I assure you,
war effort.
What do you mean, shock?
We are preparing for a worst-case scenario in Ontario's hospitals. a case where we have no more intensive care units. So that means physicians in particular potentially facing choices that no physician should ever have to make.
He says health hospitals.
I'm using the province's online calculator to triage people. That's not a fucking joke. You're disabled, you have a comorbidity. The calculator says you don't get the
clinics in your
ICU bed.
region are temporarily closed this long weekend because of delayed vaccine shipments. But 680's Enrique Amaturo tells us the vaccine rollout is still ramping up in New York and across the country.
The region is expected to get 58,000 more vaccines from the province, distributed across 37 pharmacies. AstraZeneca appointments are available at some pharmacies in New York for anyone born in 1966 or earlier. You can see the participating sites at ontario.ca/pharmacy COVID vaccine and can book a shot by contacting the pharmacies directly. Appointments are needed and walk-ins will not be accepted. This comes as Toronto hit a one-day record on Friday. Mayor John Tory says more than 37,000 COVID-19 vaccine appointments were booked. Major General Denis Fortin, the head of Canada's COVID-19 vaccine rollout, says nearly 600,000 Moderna shots are expected to be distributed to all the provinces today. I'm Enrique Amaturo. 680 News Time, 4:36. York Region Public Health has confirmed 5 COVID-19 cases at a Vaughan restaurant. The exposures occurred amongst staff and cafe landlord near Bathurst and Rutherford. The health unit says in addition to those 5 cases, they believe there are 2 other probable cases connected to the restaurant. 2 of the cases are confirmed areas of concern. And while health officials are trying to carry out contact tracing, the units say the restaurant did not properly maintain a patron list and has been fined $1,000.
680 News Time, 4:37. The Daily Bread Food Bank hosted an Easter food drive today in Mimico. 680's Julia Rumasi reports.
Food being collected at the drive-thru will stay in the Toronto area. It's then sorted and given to about 170 programs throughout the city. Daily Bread Food Bank CEO Neil Hetherington tells 680 News that if you can't make a food donation, then financial donations are also welcome.
We purchase food in a bulk fashion. And
we support the people destroying our agriculture.
He says the root cause of food insecurity is poverty.
Well, what is the root cause of poverty? And then to that, there are many different answers. Systemic issues, issues of race, of how the economy distributes wealth.
Due to the pandemic, this event is substituting Daily Bread's annual spring public food sort activities, which would typically see hundreds of volunteers sorting and packing food donations. I'm Julia Rumasi.
Yeah, because the package that comes in from the back from the stores isn't good enough. They got to open it up and manhandle it. They do that with everything.
Organized on their Facebook page, the group says following Starbucks attempt to evict
You
several
didn't take
tenants
for this, so it's a
from
handout.
50 Culture
Personally,
Avenue in
for food use, so I'm going to make sure you get
Parkdale organizes members at Starlight has
the
caused
money you
several
give them,
problems
it all
for
goes
tenants
out of
over
the
the
front door. The
course of
food will stay in the
pandemic.
city. Everything they buy is imported.
There have been nonstop problems with disrepair, disrespect from the property management, a refusal to do repairs in units, and tenants feeling that the staff there were unresponsive and sometimes harassing towards tenants.
Traffic was rerouted briefly during the height of the protest.
A law enforcement official has released more information about the man who rammed a car into a security checkpoint outside the U.S. Capitol, killing a police officer.
The U.S. official tells AP Noah Green had been suffering from delusions, paranoia, and suicidal thoughts. Police shot the 25-year-old after he jumped out of a car, knife in hand, and charged the 2 officers he struck. He later died at a hospital. The official tells AP investigators have spoken with Green's family and are focused on his mental health as they work to identify a motive. Meanwhile, the officer killed has been identified as William Evans.
Really, what that means is they want to know if he's got friends out there.
Capitol Police and a member of its first responders unit. Ben Thomas, Washington.
This is 680 News. Mississauga tennis sensation Bianca Andreescu has fallen at the final hurdle of the Miami Open. Andreescu was forced to retire with an ankle injury in the second set of the final against world number 1 Ash Barty. The tournament was a resurgence for the 20-year-old after an injury-plagued 2020. She became the first Canadian to win a Grand Slam singles title back in 2019.
680 News Time, 4:40.
Are you the parent of a child or teen aged 5 to 17 years with autism? Does your child have difficulties in social situations? Do they have trouble developing friendships or making conversations? If so, he or she may qualify for a research study at Holland Bloorview. They are currently studying a drug called arbaclofen. to improve social functioning in children and teens with autism. For more information, visit hollandbloorview.ca/ARVA-study or check out the Holland Bloorview
All these
website
parents
to learn
want a
about their research.
pharmaceutical solution.
Now the 680 News gas price update. Amber says the price will hold up at night, staying at $1.26.9 a liter.
This is 680 News. As an entrepreneur, I always have to be ready. Ready to invest in our online presence. Ready to increase our...
To you, particularly about what's happened in the courtroom, the arguments that have been made, just the decisions that have been taken. What's registered with you?
Well, again, I think what has registered with me is how orderly this case has been. The whole jury selection process at the beginning of the proceedings was handled in a way that I thought was quite sensitive to all of the concerns. And I say all of the concerns because obviously judges want to protect the jurors in appropriate ways. But on the other hand, the public has a right to know who is going to be serving on a jury. And we don't know their names and we weren't allowed to see their faces. But we did hear their voices and we did hear the questions that were being asked. And I think Judge Cahill was appropriately expansive in his willingness to allow the lawyers to have a robust jury voir dire, as we call it, to make sure that the people that were impaneled could provide the defendant with a fair trial. So I think that is really important. I think beyond that, there have been some interesting things happening in terms of evidentiary issues. You mentioned Mr. Zimmerman's testimony, and there have been some questions about whether Judge Cahill has been allowing people that have not yet been basically certified as experts to provide what amounts to expert testimony. When you ask someone in the United States anyway for their opinion on something, that is basically asking them to render an expert opinion, and that means that they would have reviewed all of the relevant materials and they would have basically been documented as being expert. Obviously, this particular police lieutenant has long experience, but if I were the defense counsel, I would have pressed an objection on that point simply because I would have said I'm not satisfied that his credentials as an expert have been satisfied, and that's something that could be an appealable issue later on down the line. That may sound too deep in the weeds, but I mean that to me is really what's going on here. I think Judge Cahill has been, as I said, very sensitive to the witnesses and to the jurors. There was one juror who raised her hand earlier in the week and asked to be excused for a few minutes after some of the really gut-wrenching testimony. That's happened, and then the trial picks up and resumes again. So it's going like a textbook trial at this point, I would say.
For people who have not been following the case closely and are wondering what possible defense Derek Chauvin could mount, what did he say?
The big one right now is that his actions were not the direct cause of George Floyd's death. And there's already been evidence submitted that Mr. Floyd consumed controlled substances as he was being in the process of being arrested, being wrestled out of his car. The issue of whether he was doing that to avoid being caught with illegal drugs or what is obviously not really an issue at this point. It's simply that if he had drugs in his system sufficient to render him unconscious or even to kill him, could you say that what Chauvin did was actually the proximate cause of his death?
Yeah.
I'm not a criminal lawyer, but the thing that strikes me about that is there's a concept in just ordinary civil tort law that says that
you're asleep and I wrap my hands around your neck. Can you really say that it was my hands that killed you? Can you really say?
How if he in fact a factor in his death was having these drugs in his system, that would exonerate Chauvin from having engaged in improper behavior and not.
They're trying to say he was so strung out. That's why he was restraining them. Now they're trying to say the drugs had him so docile. That's why he died.
Professor Jane Kirkley, the Silha Professor of Media Ethics and Law, also the Director of the Silha Center for the Study of Media Ethics and Law at the University of Minnesota. And we'll talk to Professor Kirkley about how the media is performing as far as coverage of this momentous case is concerned. Stay with us. It's the Roy Green Show on the Chorus Radio Network.
Every year, Chorus gives hundreds of businesses an opportunity to grow. And grow. And grow. by exposing them to potential customers across Canada's most powerful radio networks. And now is the perfect time with our Back to Business exclusive packages. Let us show you just how easy it is. Register to our free 30-minute consultation at chorus.online/radio today.
I'm standing inside the Spence Diamonds showroom, and wow, there's a lot of excitement going on in here. Love is in the air, I can tell you that. With open showcases featuring over 2,500 one-of-a-kind engagement rings. Let's talk to a few customers. Excuse me, hi. How are you liking the Spence experience?
This is the kind of place I dreamed about as a little boy.
Not even fan, here is George Russick.
The Blue Jays trailing the Yankees 5-3 in the top of the ninth inning. Right now in the Bronx, Marcus Semien has his first home run as a Blue Jay. It was a solo shot in the top of the fifth inning, while Ross Stripling got the start for Toronto. The righty went 3 1/3 inning, gave up 7 hits, 3 runs, all earned with 2 walks and 5 strikeouts. You can hear the conclusion of this game live right now on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Watch it on Sportsnet. Mississauga's Bianca Andreescu had to retire.
Both teams both now 1-1 on the season. Green picks up his 5th career save. He had his last save last September against you.
No, bro, we're not tuning in.
He's had the night out. They play the Flames in Calgary tomorrow. We do have one game on the go from the ice. Late second in Nashville, Predators up 2-0 on the Blackhawks. Well, earlier, Bruins beat up on the Penguins 7-5. While the Lightning get past the Red Wings 2-1. In the final,
I want to think about that name.
Madness, top seed Baylor faces number 2 Houston at 5:15, while undefeated Gonzaga takes on number 11 UCLA at 8:34. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour, or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
And just an update on that baseball game. The Yankees have won over the Jays 5-3. 6:80 this time.
They won. Did we not just...
The season series of 1 apiece. They beat the Blue Jays this afternoon.
They beat the Blue Jays this afternoon. What are we talking about? Get some consistency over here. We're trying to run gambling operations. Gaming operations. Just friendly gaming. With some players playing a game.
Prioritizing your
Let's get a set of dice and just start shooting craps on it. Just write that out there. I gotta get these people's money.
They put safety first, and right now they're also offering 40% off lenses for
And if
adults.
they bitch, I'll tell you about spending on booze and crack anyway. Fuck up.
Insurance plans too, making the process easy. Why wait any longer? Arrange your family's eye exams at provision.ca.
No, you're weirdos who want to put weird things in my eyes and blow air on them and tell me that's helping me.
Taxes extra. See store for details. Ends April 30th, 2021.
The laser eye surgeons, they can't figure out why I don't want to get both eyes done at the same time. They're telling me, hey, by the way, you're going to be blind for like 3 days in the middle of this. Now, how come you don't want to get both eyes done at the same time? Like,
April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month, and a new survey from rates.ca.
What did you say? I was just texting somebody.
74% of Canadian drivers that engage in distracted driving behaviors think there's nothing unsafe about their driving. The survey also
I've
found
seen
that
you
most
people almost
Canadians
smoke fire
realize
trucks and
distracted driving
ambulances.
is the leading cause of car accidents, and the Ontario
Collisions.
Police confirmed that 25 auto-related fatalities last year were caused by distracted driving. 76% of distracted drivers admitted to eating while driving, and 23% admitted to using a handheld device to make a call.
You've been eating since before you could talk or walk.
Admitted to watching a video instead of the road ahead. Full survey results
That's
can
a
be found
genius
on
move.
rates.ca. With the Road Ready Report, I'm Tim Demopoulos.
6:80 news time, 4:49. April is National Distracted Driving Month, and with more people out on the roads for the long weekend, police are out with simple warnings. There are a lot of things that can distract people all behind the wheel. 680's Devin Banfield has more on a recent Canadian survey that shows a lot of Canadians partake in dangerous driving.
According to a recent rates.ca survey amongst 1,000 Canadian drivers, 84% of Canadians eat or consume beverages while behind the wheel. And while texting and driving is a well-known no-no, James Burko of rates.ca says that a lot of people do it anyway.
Nearly 1 in 3.
How about people with one hand on the wheel, the other one hanging outside of the car? They look sideways, their foot comes off the brake 3 times while they're sitting at a red light. They can't figure out how they're so close to the car in front of them. Look at smoke by a dump truck.
Navigation apps on unmounted devices like
$5,000 down.
And 57% of drivers say that they often reach for things in the vehicle while driving. Perhaps most shockingly, 3% of Canadians admit to watching videos while behind the wheel. According to rates.ca, over 300 Canadians were killed by distracted drivers in 2016 alone. I'm Devin Banfield.
Traffic and weather is next.
680 News Time 450.
The car today, a much better way. Visit OntarioCars.ca.
Listen here, my friend, and I'll offer a little advice. Why scour the city looking for a used or the car?
Both from the United States and from other countries, and on the print side, and then what the electronic media are doing. Again, the news reporting I've been seeing from both our local print media and our national news media, for the most part, has been exactly what you would expect. Recaps, oftentimes, in the minute or hourly or something like that, about what has transpired in the courtroom, and then various sidebars on people involved in the case, either directly or peripherally, that provide explainers for the public. So in many respects, again, it's extraordinary only because of the amount of detail. It's not so much exactly what they're doing. It's kind of thing that you would see in many high-profile cases. As far as television is concerned, I would say that I am cringing a bit, because for the cable and the continuous feed networks, I'm seeing a lot of the same things that happened during the O.J. Simpson case. They have their designated quote-unquote expert, who's typically either a former prosecutor or defense counsel, depending upon which side they want to talk about, providing their Monday morning quarterbacking view of what has transpired in the courtroom. I hope they're watching it attentively. I know that in the case of the O.J. Simpson case, many of these expert commentators were actually watching what they were talking about. It appears that they are, but of course I can't watch everything, so I can't be 100% sure. Again, I think it's very useful if they can provide context, but one of the real problems in the O.J. Simpson trial was they were often basically talking about stuff about which they knew very little. They hadn't reviewed the evidence, so how could they possibly know whether the defense or the prosecution had done an appropriate thing in the courtroom? I can't really speak for everybody, but I think for the most part, the relationship between the individual news organizations that are covering this case and the courthouse staff has been okay. We've had a few issues with where journalists can interview people. The judge doesn't want people crowding in the hallways. There's a lot of concerns about security for this trial, of course. And so there have been this kind of tortured, how many days will dance on the head of a pin discussion about what's simply, getting confirmatory information versus having a full interview, and there have been some disputes with the deputy sheriffs. The New York Times actually wrote about an experience they had with this earlier this week. But in many ways, I think these are just kind of the growing pains of trying to set up the coverage under these really extraordinary circumstances. Because again, it's not just the high security that you expect, but it's also the COVID restrictions, which means that hardly anyone can actually be in the courtroom. So most journalists are watching the trial through a feed that's going into a press room.
What are your students asking? What's of primary concern or interest to your students?
Well, I would say that one of my students, who is not a student of mine this semester, but was last semester, who works for our University of Minnesota student paper, the Minnesota Daily, contacted me early in the process to say, do you think I can get a press credential? Do you think they'll give one to the likes of me? And I said, absolutely, I think you should try. So she's been quite thrilled that the Minnesota Daily has a designated slot to cover the trial. And there's a lot of interest with our students, and obviously because this arose right here, but because there are so many complicated issues here about race and class and power. And I think, students being students, many of them take this in a very emotional way. The university has been providing them all kinds of support systems, not just for the students, but for faculty and staff as well, which at this point to me strike me as being maybe not all that necessary, although obviously a lot of the testimony last week was quite emotionally wrenching, and if you're not accustomed to it, I'm sure it hits some hard. But I think my students, for the most part, I'd say, are taking a wait-and-see attitude, but for the ones that have not had any kind of experience with the criminal justice system, and that's most of them, this has been quite a window for them into how the process works, what the constitutional protections are, and of course what the rights of the media are to cover. So I think this is a great teaching moment, as we say, and I want to make the most use of that I can.
Well, thank you, Jane, for spending the time with us today and talking about the trial. And I just remember our conversation just days after Mr. Floyd lost his life and the rioting that had taken place in Minneapolis, and you were very close to that geographically. Thanks again. Great talking to you.
What is he saying and not
Professor
saying?
Jane Kirtley from the University of Minnesota on the Roy Green Show on the Chorus Radio Network.
As a business owner, you need a one-stop solution to all your IT needs.
You need the Wise Tech Group.
Because Wise Tech Group takes a proactive approach to providing reliable managed IT services.
Talk to Wise Tech Group today about security and backup.
Wise Tech Group offers migrating to cloud solutions.
The following message is from the Robinson-Huron Treaty Litigation Fund. Ani, my name is Jennifer Simpson, and I am reaching out to our Anishinaabe Relations and non-Indigenous treaty partners. The Government of Ontario is failing in its obligations regarding resource revenue sharing pursuant to the Robinson-Huron Treaty. Tell the Government of Ontario to stop their appeals of the Robinson-Huron Treaty Annuities claim decisions and to honor their obligations by signing the petition found on change.org. To learn more, visit rhw1850treaty.com.
680 News Time 4:56.
Now your business report.
The month of March was a strong one for the U.S. labor market. American employers added the most jobs in 7 months. Non-farm payrolls increased 916,000, which was 250,000 above consensus estimates. And the February employment number revised up to 468,000, according to the Labor Department report released Friday. The U.S. jobless rate is now down to 6%, down from a reading of 6.2%. It is still well above the 3.5% reached before the outbreak of COVID-19. Now, despite the recent progress, payrolls remain well below pre-pandemic levels, specifically in leisure and hospitality, down.
So I smoke more when I'm sick, and then when I'm not sick, I can parse it out longer. And all I know is yesterday I was not well. I was very not well. And today, whatever is or is not wrong with me, I don't appear to be snotting droplets everywhere. And I don't see that milky white shit in my eye, although I didn't look too close to this now. I'm checking the calendar. How much weed did I go through over X amount of days? I used the mathematics they taught me in grade 1, 2, 3, and 4 every day. That's what I was doing last night, trying to figure out the diameter of intakes and exhaust for ventilation.
Says bringing his offline employees back to their desks is a health issue. I'm personally not interested in
10-year maintenance-free motor, meaning the bearings. Meaning the bearings are steel, the impeller is steel, the housing is steel.
CEO Jamie Dimon, there are huge weaknesses to the Zoom world. He says the return to normal has to mean some return to office life. Think of our branches,
You're bringing back the office.
Probably most of the trading floors.
Bring back Married with Children.
Workplace culture and generating
Would you love to see that in 2020?
Is better than screen to screen. Nathan Hager, Bloomberg Radio.
This one's 740 cubic feet per minute.
Good food cooked up a great deal for
We
you.
got another one that's 340
in your first 2
or
good food
whatever.
orders. That's 4 free meals per order. It's the perfect time to spruce up your dinner.
I'm gonna put that in here. That'll exchange the air every 90 seconds. I'll exhale my weed, and within 90 seconds, it'll be across the street going in somebody's window.
And redeem your offer with promo code SPRING8. Limited time offer.
No
New members only.
The Canadian Foundation for Economic Education has teamed up with Scotiabank for a Canada-wide
What is
virtual
that?
money fair as part of
Did I get a
Talk with Our
grant?
Kids About Money
I'm
Day.
self-educated.
We're asking parents and teachers to get kids ages 9 to 14 involved in this fun learning challenge with prizes up to $2,000. Just like a science fair, our virtual money fair asks kids to choose a topic involving money and tell us about what they've learned in a fun 3-minute video. For details, visit talkwithourkidsaboutmoney.com. Now,
So one
680
time when I
is
was
regional
I
weather
was home
conditions
was a long time ago. This is year 2000 or 2001. I'm walking down the block where I was hanging out. Long story short, and there's two kids there, and I stopped panhandling, and I talked to them for like 30 seconds and wandered away. I don't remember if I gave them change or just spoke to them or whatever. And a few days later, they come back and tell me they're just high school kids, and they did that for a school project. I forget if I think they gave me $5 or something like that at that point. I didn't know that when I first spoke to them. That's what I'm thinking. When they say, oh, the kids need to study some subject about money. They did that for high school. And panhandling. See how people would treat them.
In the past 48 hours.
It just should have never come to this.
Concern grows with Ontario entering a province-wide shutdown. The Ontario Hospital Association is pleading with residents to go above and beyond shutdown measures.
We are in a race against time.
15, 16,
on the rise in the
over
city.
17,
The Daily Bread
something
Food
like
Bank is
that.
spending the long
Yes.
weekend hosting a food drive for those in need.
And a COVID-19 outbreak has been declared at the Vaughan restaurant, and its owner has been fined.
Bad news for the Blue Jays and bad news for Bianca. Sports at 15.
And coming up in business, there is a lesson to be learned from the blockage of the Suez Canal. We speak to a global management studies expert about the nearly week-long shutdown.
680 News Time, 5:01.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. Christine Langos.
Thank you, Alex. If you're traveling on the eastbound 401 this afternoon, we have one issue. It's east of the 400 in the Express. That's where we have a stalled vehicle in the right lane. In the collectors, we have police sitting on the left shoulder. So eastbound 401 is heavy from approaching the 400 Express from the 400 in the collectors to just east of it. And that's the only delay I'm seeing on the 401 at this time. Northbound Don Valley Parkway is improving following earlier troubles at Spanbridge that have been cleared. Northbound DVP is just busy from
What's
approaching
that?
Lawrence to York
Just a
Mills. Southbound
skippy little
404 Don Valley
pedestrian
looks to
bridge.
be in good shape and we're trouble-free on the Gardner Expressway. Eastbound QEW just bunching up from east of Trafalgar to Ford Drive. Your next report is at 5:11. Now with the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
Well, rain showers continue to come down across the GTA. If you're not seeing some rain showers, don't worry, you will here within the next 20 to about 30 minutes. Overnight, we'll see those rain showers end, and we'll see temperatures decline by about another 5 to 7 degrees. Right now in downtown Toronto, it's about 9 degrees. Our overnight low, 1 degree.
680 News Time, 5:02.
Today's COVID-19 case numbers have soared over 3,000 in Ontario as a province-wide shutdown goes into effect.
The former government facing criticism from the opposition for not taking action soon enough. 680's Madison Fitzpatrick joins us live with more. Madison.
Yeah, Caitlin, the province didn't provide an updated COVID-19 figure on Good Friday with it being a holiday, but today Ontario reports 3,800.
I don't think that's an excuse. I really don't under these
And
conditions.
3,009 today, marking the largest single-day case count since mid-January. A total of 39 deaths related to the virus were also reported in the past 2 days. Now, effective today, Ontario has imposed a province-wide emergency break for at least 4 weeks, but officials like MPP Andrew Horvath are concerned that this shutdown isn't clear and it's not what health officials wanted to see.
Basically, the government put forward measures which fall short of what these very experts are saying we need. More mixed messaging from the government. Stay at home, everyone. But here's a whole bunch of places you can actually go. I mean, it just should have never come to this. This is exactly what they were saying back in February. And here we are in the beginning of April with over 3,000 cases.
A spokesperson for Health Minister Christine Elliott says, on top of this shutdown, the province continues to take additional measures to ensure the health and safety of Ontarians and has rolled out its high priority community strategy to provide targeted supports for communities in the hardest hit areas.
There's an A. It doesn't sound like an A sound.
680 News Time, 5:04. Hospitalizations have also reached a pandemic high, with 447 people now in the ICU battling COVID-19. The Ontario Hospital Association is pleading with the public to go above and beyond the restrictions in place, warning in a matter of weeks they could run out of space for new patients. 680's Michelle Morton reports.
OHA President Anthony Dale says in an ideal world, the association would redeploy the province's vaccine strategy.
And bulldoze vaccines into the communities where we know COVID-19 is out of control. So in the GTA, that is Peel region, York region, parts of Northwest Toronto.
I know he said bulldoze, I said railroad.
Down into Hamilton. With these public health measures, important as they are, focusing on a vaccine strategy that targets the areas where the growth of COVID-19 is out of control is a necessary strategy, an urgent one.
So we need to come up with $2 billion, and the cops cost $1.25 billion. Can we just eliminate them? Hey, I second that. Let's do it.
Especially in the
now we only need $750 million. That's pretty good.
Are facing a looming catastrophe, and
we're 2/3 of the way there already.
The spread of COVID-19 slows down in the community. In a matter of weeks, we will be unable to care for everyone who needs equal access to intensive care units. Full stop.
If you have plans for Easter dinner or to meet people outside of your household, he says cancel them. I'm Michelle Morton. 680 News Time, 5:05. The first results from a major trial of a COVID vaccine on kids is in, and it's promising. 680's Mark McMahon tells us Pfizer says its shot was 100% effective on those aged 12 to 15.
The trial involved nearly 2,300 kids, and of those who received the Pfizer shot, none developed COVID-19, while some who received a placebo did contract the virus. U.S.-based infectious disease Dr. Susanna Nagy is a mother of 2 kids who have volunteered for a trial and speaks to the importance of kids getting vaccinated.
There's a great opportunity for them to potentially get early access and really accelerate the development for the appropriate dose in children. Because we really need to get this out to our kids.
While kids have generally fared better than older groups when it comes to this virus, experts say vaccinating children will be an important part of getting to herd immunity. I'm Martin McMahon. 680 News Time, 5:06. Dozens of people were protesting outside Starlight Development's offices earlier today near Bathurst and St. Clair West. The protest was organized by the group Parkdale Organize after a number of tenants at 55 Triller Avenue in Parkdale received eviction notices over delivering a collective letter to the landlord asking for better treatment. Parkdale Organize member Ashley Doherty tells 680 News, although the protest is over today, the fight isn't.
55 Triller tenants and Parkdale tenants aren't going anywhere. We're not going to let
these guys just move into the neighborhood, buy a building, and think their own shit now? How tall is your building?
They think that they're going to be able to come into 55 Triller and drag our neighbors from their homes, then they're sorely mistaken.
This one's 22 floors. I would ask you, think you could survive a 23-floor drop up this building?
During the pandemic.
Shit happens out here, man. It's been happening this way forever.
All accounts, it was a successful Easter weekend
I'm allowed to laugh at it. I didn't do it.
Drive today in the West End. 680's Julia Rulisi has more.
The number of Torontonians
60,000
on food banks has risen from about 60,000 per month to 110,000. That's according to the Daily Bread Food
That's
Bank
real
CEO
close to
Neil
double.
Hetherington.
I'm gonna tell you something. There's guys like me that were using services like that because they're there, and now I see the lineup around the block. I see people that have never had to use food banks and things. And you know what? I'll be okay. You guys take whatever they've done. They don't give so much
He says
to
during
fight
the
over. Let's
pandemic,
put it right there.
approximately 20% of food bank
Just
users will go without
this
a meal
first world
for an
problems.
entire day.
We are seeing
Vegetables, lots of vegetables.
disproportional number of individuals from BIPOC communities.
Vegetables grow in dirt. They have to be sterilized by boiling or steaming before they're safe to eat. That tells me I shouldn't eat it.
25,000 pounds of food, which will then go toward the overall spring campaign of 225,000 pounds by the end of the month. I'm Julia.
Take a pound sterling. Wait a second.
680 News Time, 5:08. York Region Public Health has confirmed 5 COVID-19 cases at a Vaughan restaurant. The exposures occurring amongst staff.
No data is data, and that's science.
The health unit says in addition to
He has
those
good Christian values. We don't know how he could die.
connected to the restaurant, and 2 of the cases are confirmed variants of concern. And while health officials are trying to carry out contact tracing, the unit says the restaurant did not properly maintain a patron list and has been fined $1,000.
The COVID-19 vaccine rollout ramping up across the GTA and Canada. Here's 680's Enrique Amaturo. York Region is expected to get...
It's such a simple rule, too, because you're not in charge of forcing people to tell you the truth. You just got to write something down for everybody that comes in. Let them write it down.
You can see a complete list of the select pharmacies offering the shot at...
So the rules here get so weird. At one point, they had a clipboard downstairs at the coffee shop for us to write down that we were there. Then they said no more indoor dining, and it's like, okay, so we're not in the same place at the same time, so you don't have to write that shit down no more. Okay, well, what the fuck purpose was that rule?
distribution. Major General Danny Fortin.
And we had indoor dining for about 5 days this month, last month,
to be
whatever.
distributed to all the provinces today.
In between March break, the old March break, and the new April break, we had indoor dining. They didn't even get none of the tables unstacked or nothing in that 4 days.
Distribution to provinces will begin Saturday.
I don't think anybody even knew they were allowed to. I don't think they even knew. They're too busy working. They're at 7 in the morning, they leave at 6. At what point do they get to listen to the same shit I'm listening to? Unless they want to bum out all their customers from the news.
Album's title track spent 3 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 200, and it became the group's best-selling record. But there's a long-standing belief that boy bands have a peak shelf life of about 3 years.
Ooh.
So right on schedule.
3 albums, too. 3 tours.
90s, and then it seemed for a time we were in a boy band dead zone.
Depends how long the tour is.
With grunge music, gangster rap, and hip-hop taking over, there wasn't
New
really
Kids
an
on the Block,
appetite for dancing, harmonizing pretty boys. Behind the scenes,
Back
though,
in 89,
a guy by the name of Lou Pearlman was hard at work creating the next big boy band. Before we go down that road, let's take a moment to consider what makes a boy band, or more importantly, what made a boy band.
Really? You want us to fucking delve down that road psychologically? Whatever answer just came to your head, keep it to yourself, because if you say it out loud, you're going to look weird.
Rising smart.
I was about to say, the first is, what makes a boy band? I was like, well, some boys that are girly. I was like, I'm not going down this road anymore. No, that's too weird. New Kids on the Block, they had comic books. I swear to God. So if you don't know, these guys end up drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever the allegations are. It's different back in the day. If an allegation came out in the news, it would be like 8 years before you heard the truth. But apparently, supposedly burning down places and getting drunk and doing drugs was these guys' thing. Some of these guys. And maybe it was a different boy band, but that's what I mean. There's always 5 of them for some reason. Oh, what am I doing? Yeah, I can just press play. Fuck it. Oops. 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 Sliding doors. Okay, well, please do something. I have 2 hands, man. This is all personal protective equipment. That's why I pull it right down over my eyes. Droplets and things aren't landing. I've had liquids hit my eyes so many times in my life.
A few days ago, we got a letter from the municipality congratulating us because our water consumption is so low.
Do you know how much water
The
to be used to print that
congratulations
piece
were
of
printed
paper?
on our annual statement. Congratulations for doing such a
Came out
good
on
job.
everybody's statement, didn't it?
That praise is also a way for the city to encourage people to continue to use water wisely. The springs here yield plenty of fresh water.
Nothing around me. I only use it for paper planes, actually. I'm the opposite of Microsoft. I'm big and hard. Let that resonate, maybe a little more. I got that lyricism sprinkled with a lot of flow. I make my sauce authentic on a chopping board. Baby, it's spicy, be careful. Don't check the bottle too much, be gentle.
Some of these motorcycles sound like airplanes, and some of them sound like machine guns. You guys got something going on in your head, man.
Hey, nothing on my wrist, nothing on my neck, nothing on my fist. It's all on my check. Don't you get the gist? I got the confidence, don't need a brand on my chest. Hey, I know what my value is. Hey, wealthy people don't need jewelry. Ay, look at 21 Savage and Bill Gates. The rap industry got a complex. I turned reality into a lucid dream. I turned a lucid dream into whipped cream. Cash rules, nothing around me. I only use it for paper planes, actually. I'm the opposite of Microsoft, I'm big and hard. Let that resonate, maybe a little more. I got that lyricism sprinkled with a lot of flow. I made my sauce authentic on a chopping board. Baby, it's spicy, be careful. Don't shake the bottle too much, be gentle. It's kinda high on the Scoville level. Don't burn your tongue, don't get it in your eyes too. I turned reality into a lucid dream. I turned a lucid dream into whipped cream. Cash rules, nothing around me. I only use it for paper planes, actually. Self-care, yeah, got a lot of that. No food tastes good as having a six-pack. You should cut your snacks same way you cut that crack. Then you wouldn't look fat as a Cadillac. Baby, looking like a snack. I can see you did them squats on the squat rack. I don't need a beat, I don't really need a track. You can be my producer with your booty clap. I turned reality into a lucid dream. I turned a lucid dream into whipped cream. Cash rules, nothing around me. I only use it for paper planes, actually. Baby, keep your pants on, zip tight, locked off. This is not the time for you to rack it up. We be in.
Yes, nigga. Word take it. Slim, we out here. Don't get close, nigga. We the creators, the shooters behind the FOGs, the wide lights, these are 990s.
So a year and change ago, they said the Public Health Agency of Canada is on the ground in Wuhan, China, investigating a particularly infectious form of pneumonia or something like that. They said, this is going to be big. We got that on the video. I didn't see it coming. That was December. That wasn't February, March, April. That was December.
That to get our shit up. Only other option is a stick up. Never a 9 to 5, cause I ain't got no day job. From the slums, little homie, where we play hard. You don't wanna see the 30-30 when the sprays on. 22 to walk around 3/8 for the beat. The 40 to lay them down, the max for the EC. Heard niggas saying, but they wanna make chats with us. Before that, didn't even crack to us. Going hard in the booth, it's a takeover. Hard in the ground into your face, that's a makeover. 2 and 5 or a 2. The rest profit, hustle mindset, won't sleep till I knock it. And don't push me, cause I ain't in the top yet. 12-year-old who's why I'm scared if you got it. Y'all got it. It's just me you comparing to. I ain't finished my fair share yet, but that air them just started. And I ain't talking about no jump shot, brush them off, go top. You know the code, heard my tracks. Didn't think I was capable. 4-5 pipe on 100. Trace the didn't think I was capable. 4-5 pipe on 100. It isn't traceable.
You niggas gon' ride something like a flat tire. Ain't a fire at your back, it will be backfire. Cause my gas the same size as a blow dryer. Never true in your raps with some damn liars. Great job, make them spit through the wire. And you don't supply shit, you a buyer. I'm the king of gang rap, call me sire. That's it, but pardon me, you rate and admire. Your rubber grip tight, no pliers. I gotta take you out, call it quits or retire. The 4th room down, 5th lift from up. Bells don't leave shells, so I'm switching up. Be something like a bus driver still picking up. Got your hands in your pocket, nigga, stick them out. I'm a projects, money's no objects. So we finger fuck max and we contact. Slide in, slide out, stop when we ride out. Down, go. I got round at you dumb clowns. You're standing up till I tell them sit down. Stomach on the ground, hands behind your back and your neck. When I'm digging in your pants, give me that up in your grip. All for the rest. He said, check the weed, need the cash. What? I'ma do him dirty, Mad Max. Do it, niggas get back. Bitches get snapped and get smacked. Face down when I'm breaking her back. Yo, we got metal like a rap, made a name in rap. I ain't setting it for drop nothing. So I'ma need me a bad C-O-L-T. Carved in my rack, steel unstolen. Stereo scratch off all my actions. Stop the madness, I'm reeling up, get it gone. Magic, I don't sleep like I don't got a night. Don't send your in class, didn't see y'all. Now run a bottom close. I ain't doing wrong, but I'm clear blood strong till it drops on my palm. Till it highly dangerous and known to me arms crossed dangerous. Sicker than stars, I ain't saying this, but I'm a all-star. Like camera, run, just like when I lay off.
Drivers use navigation apps on unmounted devices like cell phones, and 57% of Canadians say that they often reach for things in the vehicle while behind the wheel. And despite it being a well-known no-no, I've got a assertive respondents
Well, you knew I was about to go outside. It's raining now.
I'm Devin Banfield.
680 News Time, 5:19. Taiwanese prosecutors are seeking the arrest of a truck driver after the country's worst rail disaster in decades left 50 people dead.
Relatives of the victims of the fatal crash visited the site and paid tribute to their loved ones in improvised ceremonies. The train was carrying 494 people at the start of a long holiday weekend on Friday when it smashed into the construction truck. The truck's emergency brake was not properly engaged. Among those killed was a U.S. citizen and another is reported missing. I'm Sarah Bassett.
And the OMA says COVID misinformation spreaders may not be who you think they are. 680's Phil Martino reports.
You may have seen the COVID-19 myths circulating online, from the vaccine causes polio to hospitals are faking COVID deaths. A study conducted on behalf of the Ontario Medical Association found Ontarians ages 55 to 64 are the most engaged online across all COVID hoax topics, and most conversations are taking place in Eastern Ontario and here in Toronto. OMA President Dr. Samantha Hale says it's disturbing.
We've seen that the variants attack younger people, and the 55 to 64-year-old group is unvaccinated for the most part and very at risk.
Dr. Hale says Ontario's doctors have been dealing with COVID misinformation throughout the pandemic, and these new insights make them even more committed to providing evidence-based facts to stamp down the misinformation on social media. I'm Phil Martino.
In 60 seconds, a look at the roads and the extended forecast.
Your performance at work is getting...
Yes, so if it's an automatic transmission, you might say P for park. That's to set the transmission in park. That's not the parking brake. And I've said that to people as they're parking. It doesn't matter. Well, there's nothing holding your car there if you don't use the fucking brake. And if you don't use it regularly, it'll rust and fall apart.
Man in the man with the strap to your left, vision black with the phone dog and hot snap. OGs to YG, scroll clap, we clap. Do you come and try me? 70s and 90s, been moving grimy. Blood rush till it's hooked up to the ivy. 4-5 will stretch you, and they think it's slow. Until they end up on the stretcher, better get a coffin. Yo, Critians, so we ain't in a no long talking. Money overflow, back on my bullshit. These punks that I grew with, acting like they're too sick, too no cash making me ever switch sides. Or babble to the Jakes, almost get my guns fried, huh? My mind's fried. See, I don't give a fuck. Stank it with a YG, guarantee we hit them up. Take a nigga slut, man, you know me. Never look back since my first stack in 03 pack, nigga. Unless I get busy with these OGs, screaming Southside, outside. All the police fucked up when I nipped 1.5 beef. Snakes and cop chops. Now you owe me 10 degrees till I go to sleep. Kill you for the indicator. Marksman, super fun. What the fuck's a murder one? Bad news if you run into the DBS. All I do is. Yeah, it's the fatal, baby. I'm back with this motherfucking track, y'all.
Money is gas, taking the dash, come like a blast with that on my cash, taking it slow, I'm taking it fast, face on the dash, dropping that ass, fuck with the cats, I don't fuck with them rats, throwing it bad while she busting it back, talking that shit, better watch how you act, doing the game and the place in the set, I know I'm real bit like the missing link, all my bitches small with a lot of ink, all I really know is I want more bling, Money calling me, I keep on chasing. You see me on stage and I'm glowing. You not believe where I'm going. I'm fucking with the speed I'm stroking. Sunning rappers coaching. Don't fuck with my vibe when I'm smoking. Judging all these rappers by the clothing. Need a role model and a Trojan. Provoking while I'm promoting emotion. Demons in my head, keep on facing them. Smoke the pain away, I can't erase it. Damn, if you roll it up, you better lace it down. Oh yeah, uppers and them downers and I chase it down. Pussy chasing me, I do not chase it down. Catch me online, got the playlist, wanna ride. I got the spacious, I stay lift up the police and the racists. Ride for my homies and I'll never turn, baby. Cremated when I die in the diamond urn, baby. I love some thick thighs, yeah, I never learned, baby. The devil in disguise, but my friends call me Hades. Living up like I'm lucid, in the woods with these druids. Chilling with the humans, getting stupid off these fluids. Rooted in the music, the money is elusive. You say you taking shots, my homies really shooting. Something different. Yeah, I hope you hear the difference. This is not a coincidence, legitimate imprisonment. Your lyrics sounding belligerent, I'm feeling that deliverance. I'm tired of being considerate. Your music is sounding like some gibberish. Everyone's hearing me killing this. I'm the rapper and the instrument. I don't know what you talk about. All my homies is innocent. The leader of the syndicates. Music is my stimulant. All my rhymes are written intricate, and I'm feeling this. Listen closely when I'm spitting this. Label should consider this.
You gotta be shitting me! You can't keep me cooped up in here, okay? I am a peacock! You gotta let me fly!
My crimes are heinous. Yo, I kill the beat like I'm a racist. I do it while I'm faded. I'm shameless and I don't need payment. I'm feeling like the greatest. It's time to show my faces. Fear and loathing Las Vegas. Never will they tame us. They hating on this rapper, but they will not claim us. The new school rappers looking brainless. Yo, and all these young kids celebrate them, making them contagious. I hit you with the latest. I'm dropping all this hot shit like the runs of a anus. Calling all creators, surrounded by the famous. Big dreams, I'ma make it one day. Oh God. 666 up from the dash, and I say, get the cash. That's all she had to say, y'all. Had me up all night, bad pride. Big dreams, I'ma make it. Oh God. 666 on the dash, and I slay. Get the cash. All she had to say.
If they report
motherfucking police always be fucking.
If they report like 2,990 something cases tomorrow, they'll be like, "Oh, it went down. It went down." Oh yeah.
And now the 680 News Business Report.
I'm Chris McCusker. Things are returning to normal in the Suez Canal after it was blocked for almost a week by a massive container ship. Now, something like this had never happened before, and the world
canal-sized container
Michael Manjuris is a professor and chair of global management studies at Ryerson University.
The reason it became so important is that the Suez Canal handles approximately 12% of the world's global trade. And so now that particular transportation link is blocked. And as a result, that blocks the delivery of components to manufacturers, raw materials like crude oil, or even final products. And as a result, when inventory is stalled, costs ultimately can go up.
Now, the timing on this also not great, with supply chains already stretched because of the pandemic.
Most supply chain management systems use the theory is commonly referred to as a just-in-time approach. In other words, let's try and get that product or component to the purchaser just in the time they're going to use it.
And it would be nice to think this might not happen again, but you think there's a lesson here.
I think businesses, particularly large global businesses, are now going to have to adjust their supply chain management system to account for the possibility of areas in global trade distribution where there's a weakness. This blockage of the Suez Canal, severe weather events are now happening with greater frequency. These are all called natural events or phenomena that are happening, and the theory itself doesn't assume any kind of change or problem will affect the system yet. Human error is another one. All these are possibilities. So just in time is probably not the best term. Perhaps we have to say nearly just in time, and if you account for that with some type of safety factor, hopefully global firms will see that.
Michael Manjuris is with Ryerson University, and at the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker.
This is your weather station, 680 News.
You won't tell us millimeters of rain or barometric pressure or humidity. Donate your buddy's piece of shit today.
Go from this to this. Moi, c'est jamais le fun, évidemment, de se faire appeler par le médecin parce que Oui, vu que vous avez déjà été.
Instead of demanding that Katie do it, because Katie has an area of interest and growing expertise, and she's helping young girls. And I was okay with that with both of you because you're not a public institution.
Family, Canada's best beef this Easter. They won't have any room for those little chocolate eggs. Okay, maybe just 1 or 5 handfuls. For quality that meets your family standards, trust ours. Longos. Jason Fraser's forecast looking like a pretty nice Easter Sunday. High of 14 degrees and mostly sunny. That's a high of 12 for Easter.
It didn't rain any of the days you said. It didn't snow when you said.
Toronto was 3, 4, 5 times a day and always be in the know. James Mackin was the afternoon show editor. 680 News Time, 5:30.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good afternoon. It's Saturday, April 3rd. I'm Caitlin Lane.
And I'm Alex Bloomfield. Here's what's making news this hour.
Is the shutdown too little, too late?
The government put forward measures which fall short of what these very experts are saying we need.
Ontario reports just under 6,100 COVID-19 cases in the past 2 days.
While it may not seem important, your individual choices truly are.
That message from the Ontario Hospital Association asking residents to go above shutdown restrictions.
People relying on food banks within Toronto has significantly risen over the past year.
In a city as as ours, that just shouldn't be the case.
And the Daily Bread Food Bank is asking you to donate what you can during the weekend.
The Blue Jays fall in the Bronx, and Bianca can't finish her final in Miami. Sports at 45.
Coming up in business, it's the greening of the delivery fleet. Purolator rolls out new fully electric vans, and Cargo Bikes expanding its eco-friendly vehicles with zero-emission targets. 531.
They already got guys running around with these, like, it's like a dolly with a gigantic, it's like the most, they fill it out the whole square with packages. Nothing good. What about propane? All your propane vehicles and all that shit. That's not good enough.
To Weston Express and Collectors as you make your way over to the 400. Westbound 401 is wide open. The northbound Jane ramp to northbound 400, that's closed because of long-term construction. And we still have this stalled vehicle on the southbound 427 ramp to eastbound 409. That's blocking the right lane, really not causing a big delay for you at this time. Eastbound QEW is busy from Royal Windsor to Ford Drive. And we have delays north and southbound along Weston, south of Shepherd at Starview Lane because of a collision investigation. Your next report is at 5:41. Now with the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
Well, right now, Christine, we continue to see some light to moderate rain showers moving across the GTA. If you're not seeing rain, you're also seeing lots of cloud cover. Overnight, we're expecting the rain to end and clear out of here, and we'll see temperatures dropping just above the freezing mark. 9 degrees right now at Pearson, our overnight low, 1 degree.
680 News Time, 532.
Wind chill -12.
The emergency brake has been pulled, but the third wave is still a runaway train. The province reporting back-to-back days of over 3,000 new cases of COVID-19 today as a 4-week shutdown takes effect.
The Ford government is taking its criticism for not acting faster. 680's Madison Fitzpatrick joins us with the latest numbers and reaction. Madison.
Yeah, Alex, as Ontarians celebrate the holiday weekend, COVID-19 numbers were pushed back a day, but the numbers reported today mark the largest single-day case count since mid-January. 3,089 new cases were reported on Friday and 3,009 today, with a total of 39 deaths related to the virus. Now, as the Ford government pulled the emergency brake, bringing us into the third lockdown of the pandemic, officials like MPP Andrew Horvath say the government is not providing the tools people need to do the right thing.
We wouldn't be in another holiday weekend situation and other celebrations, spring celebrations coming upon us. With the variants of control out of control, if the Ford government had stepped up and taken its responsibility seriously.
A spokesperson for the Health Minister, Christine Elliott, says the province-wide emergency brake puts us in place time-limited public health and workplace safety measures to help stop the rapid transmission of COVID-19 variants in communities, protect hospital capacity, and save lives. Reporting live, I'm Madison Fitzpatrick.
The Ontario Hospital Association warning the province is getting dangerously close to running out of ICU beds, with 447 people currently undergoing intensive care for COVID-19. And while it welcomes the province-wide shutdown, 680's Michelle Morton reports the OHA is pleading with the public to go above and beyond the current restrictions.
Paid sick leave is needed to help stop community spread of the virus. That's what OHA President Anthony Dale says. That's because essential workers are more likely to be exposed to the virus.
Sick pay is a way of saying to them, if you are sick or if you feel and fear you are sick, please take care of yourself, self-isolate. And what we're saying as a society is we will make sure that you don't lose income, that you can continue to feed your family. It's a clear solution that should be in place on a comprehensive basis.
Dale says hospitals need everyone to do their part.
I wish, if I could, touch on the shoulder 14.5 million people and help them really understand right now just how important their individual choices are. This is the single biggest crisis facing Ontario's hospitals in their modern history. We are saying to you that we are, at this rate, probably going to run out of intensive care unit space in a matter of weeks.
He's asking you to not gather over the long weekend with anyone outside of your household. I'm Michelle Morton.
680 News Time 5:35 is being hailed as a major development in the fight against COVID-19. 680's Martin McMahon reports Pfizer is sharing details of the final stage trial indicating its vaccine is 100% effective at protecting children aged 12 to 15.
Here are the numbers. Nearly 2,300 kids. Of those inoculated, no children got the virus, while those injected with the placebo did get sick in some cases. Here's Dr. Ashish Jha, the Dean of the Brown University School of Public Health in the U.S.
This is really a high level of efficacy. 100% of kids were vaccinated. No side effects that were seen so far. So we're going to have the FDA do the full evaluation, but I think this is terrific.
Keep in mind that this is a trial and will still need to be scrutinized by regulators before any potential approval of this shot for use in kids. I'm Martin McMahon.
680 News Time,
McMahon,
5:36.
really?
Dozens of people gathered
This
near
guy
St. Clair
fucking
West
Smiley.
this afternoon for a protest against Starlight developments. The demonstration was run by
Oscar
party
the Grouch
organizer.
fighting over the last.
Ashley Doherty, a member of the group, says they're
Piece of
attempting to prevent Starlight from evicting several tenants, including one named Jacqueline.
This is unpaid rent during COVID.
Certainly almost getting booked on invitation to
COVID, she lost her work, and she has been trying to negotiate a reasonable payment plan with Starlight for over a year now. Starlight has given her no response other than pay all of your rent or you will be evicted.
Starlight Developments owns several buildings throughout the city. At its height, there were about 100 people at the protest, with Toronto police stepping in to divert traffic.
Yeah, well, they kind of
680 News Time 5:37 with a 51% increase in food bank visits. The Daily Bread Food Bank is calling on the community to support their spring food drive over the Easter weekend. 680's Julia Runlessy reports they collected over 25,000 pounds of food today.
Attending the drive-through food drive today is one way to help those experiencing food insecurity within the city. But Daily Bread Food Bank CEO Neil Hetherington says there are more ways to get involved.
Individuals can also pick up a phone or send an email to an elected official and say, how can I be part? How can you make sure that the anti-poverty strategy, poverty reduction strategy, gets implemented in our country, province, and city?
And he says food high in protein is ideal to donate.
If you would open up that shelf-stable food tonight and serve it to your family, that's the type of food that the families who are experiencing poverty would like to eat.
Food banks will still be open throughout the shutdown at local fire halls 24/7. I'm Julia Runlessy.
A Florida college student accused of hitting a police officer in the head with a skateboard during the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol has now been denied bond.
Grady Owens, a student at Orlando's Full Sail University, was arrested Thursday, and photos of him in